One of the biggest mistakes that happens in today's system of education is that people are too much, or educators, or the people who are in charge of the policy, the policymakers, and so on. They're too concerned about what we're feeding the children with, or ourselves with, what we're fulfilling ourselves with, and not with having a desire for that. Since when I'm satiated, what usually happens, Asaf can know, Asaf likes to eat as much as I know, pretty much. When Asaf is satiated, you can see that he's gradually falling asleep. Or when he's satiated and you try to shove in
Largely
another
true.
burger,
Largely true.
Asaf might be able to handle that another burger, but sometimes you might return it to the person who tried to shove it into
Hmm.
yourself. And that's what happens to children in the system of education. When you try to shove in and you don't work on the development of the desire, on developing a need, a lack, um, an empathy, an understanding of why the hell do I need that? The first question I was asked when I entered the classroom when I was a young teacher in the system of education, um, after completing a very prestigious teacher's preparation diploma, entering the class with a huge desire to change, two children approached me. One said, look, I didn't take my Ritalin today. I didn't take my pill against that might calm me down, so be careful. And the second one said, why the heck do we need all this? Why do we study? Why do we need that for?
Oh man.
And what usually I would say, go and ask mommy, doesn't work. We have to actually, these are the things that are the most important in education. How to bring up a desire. We're not bringing up a child, we're bringing up a desire, not his mind. If I have a desire, if I have a lack, if I'm curious, then I want that burger, that knowledge, that otherwise it doesn't work. The same thing applies to the development of humanity. I have here a small sketch I'd like to show you. Can I share it? Asaf, can
Yes,
I share?
please.
Yeah,
Please,
you
please
can.
share
It's
screen.
a free
Yes,
Zoom.
I
You
can.
you can go ahead
It's a
and share.
free Zoom. Wonderful.
But
Look at this. You see
maybe,
that?
but Ellie, maybe just I don't want to stop your flow here, but there is a question from Shira Land here, which may be very relevant. She asks, how exactly do our deepest desires facilitate lasting change? Maybe it has to do exactly with where you wanted to take this. So,
And what I'm sharing with you is a sketch drawn by Professor McAfee from MIT. It's a pretty old one. It's dated a few years ago, but what's important here is what he wanted to show, and I will beg a small differ regarding the reasons for that. What you see before you is when you will have, I don't know, when you're having a dinner with friends and you want to discuss for some reason which was the event that changed humanity the most throughout history,
okay.
and you will compile the answers. Most of the most common answers are in gray here.
Hmm.
It's Jesus, it's the Ottoman Empire, it's calculus, it's the Renaissance. Some say Abraham, not many, but some, throughout history. What McAfee tries to prove is that this graph shows the opposite. It shows that throughout history, the black line is human population, more or less, which was steadily growing until recently, and the blue line is the development, their quality of life, or the development of technology that leads to a better quality of life. But mainly the development of technology. Let's put it this way, it'll be easier. I think he made a small mistake, or a big one, with another revolution that is not mentioned here. But let's drop that aside. If we look at what happens at the last, from the year 2000 onwards, it's fascinating. It's like we've been developing in this boring um, linear line throughout history, and then boom, an exponential curve that brings humanity to a completely new level, technologically speaking. Every 18 to 24 months, a new chip is invented that changes the whole idea of technology, the way we see it. And when you go to, and I visit sometimes these big conferences, sometimes I speak at these conferences on behalf of the educator in the room, but usually you will hear people, and I know some great people who are managing here the innovation departments at Microsoft and in Amdocs and Apple, and I've discussed it with them, and I've been working in forums to try to think about the future of education. And usually when these graphs are used, people speak about how like the exponential development of technology and how it's about to change our lives and the world of work. And here they beg to differ with make our lives better, make it more miserable, more poverty, less poverty, greater. That's not the thing. That's not the story. They try to say that the story is technology, the biggest story, not the only story, but the biggest one. What I'm trying to say, based on what I said beforehand, is that no, it's not the big story. The big story is that what we see here is only a blueprint of a much deeper. It's like I don't know, an X-ray of a much deeper phenomenon. Humanity develops. Desire developed throughout history in a certain way, in a certain module that didn't really change that much qualitatively. It did improve.
Well, then let's just slow it down. Pace. So meaning humanity developed, and we wanted, maybe I want to be, have a family. Maybe I want to have a house. Maybe I want to have these things. So that's what you're saying. It went for a long time. It never, it would hit a little plateau, but it never exploded, it looks like.
And it was also very individual. I enjoyed my, nice place where I could live, my family, then gradually the ability to acquire goods the way they were, the ability to grow and become more famous and conquer more land. And we can speak about it endlessly, but this was more or less the same kind of linear development from one desire, from one egotistic desire, from one desire to fulfill my basic needs or my developing social needs, but my needs. And that's how it developed and grew. I'm saying that because in a moment I will refer to our children that we see today, our children, when we ask them questions about life or when they ask us questions about life, and then we'll see how this graph that depicts the development of humanity refers to us also. But then something happened. Then suddenly something happened. Something around the year 2000. It began from the Industrial Revolution, but the biggest leap happened around the year 2000, a bit beforehand. Something happened and changed this curve completely. An interesting thing that happened simultaneously is that also humanity began to enter into a phase of an ever-growing crisis that develop in different spheres that we can no longer solve like we could in the past. But enough to make it scientifically proven. Enough young people today are placing a huge question mark on each and every one of these stations, asking, why the heck should I go to school? Why should I go and do something for society? Why do you want me to study in academia? To have a family, to have kids and invest my life in some... Why? In Europe, there's a negative birth rate. And to work at the same workplace until my pension? Have you lost your mind? 18 to 24 months, I'm gone. The biggest problem in today's world of work is retention. If you have work, then the problem is retention. They're looking for something else. They're looking for something deeper. They're looking for meaning. They don't just want to work in a place. They want to work in a place where they will benefit to some greater goal. I don't want to work. Yeah.
Can we say that they don't have any words yet to define what it is, though, that they want?
Yes.
Right. They feel something inside that they don't want, but they don't have yet. Kind of like the leaders, how we opened the show, they can only feel like going back. They don't know yet what that picture is.
And you're saying that what we see on the graph and everything that happens on the surface is just on the surface, right?
It's just on the surface.
It's only consequences in your view. You're seeing a deeper evolutionary process that's happening here, and that's what you're describing, really.